Around the Kits with Joe Gansas.
And now your host, Joe Gansas.
Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome to Around the Kits video live stream. I'm your host, Joe Gansas, and for the next 2 hours, we'll be talking drums, and if that's not enough, drum some more. We welcome all the Facebook viewers out there. It's live right now on Facebook, and the edited show, we'll put that on YouTube in a couple of days or even tomorrow. We welcome you to a great show today. Today's Sunday, June 26, 2022, and we have a tremendous show. We actually have 4 world-class drummers today live. Our roundtable, in about 10 minutes from now, we'll just 3 guys that are just tremendous in the business and awesome drummers. Rich Redmond, Billy Amendola, and Joe Bergamini. I'm just so elated that they have given me some more time tonight, and they'll be talking about tonight's main guest, Liberty Devitto, at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I invited them on because they all friends and part of the book, Life, Billy, and A Pursuit of Happiness. So much to talk about with these great guests on the round table. And then 8:30 comes, we'll have the legendary Liberty Devitto. What can you say about Liberty? 30 years with Billy Joel, all those major hits, 150 million albums, gold, platinum, world tours, played Russia and Cuba. Just a tremendous story. I hope to get so much out of him tonight. Looking forward to this interview for a long time. So we got 8:30, we have Liberty. Hopefully we'll touch on his upbringing from Brooklyn to Long Island, maybe even Billy Joel and everything in between, and his new band, the Lords of 52nd Street. Pumped for that. We're going to take a little trip now and see what we got coming up. 2 weeks from today, we have the great Joe Franco and John Macaluso. That's going to be on July 10th. And July 24th, we'll have just 2 world-class players. And these guys just give me... They give me goosebumps when I think about them. Great friends of mine, and they've always come on the show and give me everything and the truth and reality. Dave Disenso, just a monster player. If you haven't seen Dave play, go watch him, go check him out. And Donald Barrett, who's now on tour from going from small time to Yamaha drums, doing so much work for that in the R&B community. Now he's playing with Lady Gaga. Just a tremendous story from both of them. We just love to have these great guests, and our show coming up in a couple of we got other great shows coming up, but those are 2 we just gonna talk about today. What can you say about Liberty? The 30 years, all those great hits. He is the songwriter's drummer, aka. I think about his style, and you won't find him with all these tremendous chop players, if you will, but I don't agree with that. Liberty has great chops. We always think of chops on guys like who I love, Thomas Lang and Virgil, and guys like that who Marco Minimum, who just chop masters. But there's chops in a different way to me. I think even a groove could be a chop or a feel. Just because you're playing the same thing over and over doesn't mean you don't have chops. So I just looking forward to this. His career started in the 60s, and it's still going strong today. Just love having him on, and I am just pumped. He's given us the time. He's now on tour with his latest band, the Lords of 52nd Street. So hope to get so much out of him. Me and Lib over the years, we've been friends for a while. We had a little falling out, but we are friends again. These things in life happen. We reconnected a couple months back at the Delaware Drum Show, and things are back to normal. And we just used to hang out a lot. I go back almost 20 years with Liberty. When he first moved to Brooklyn, I was at work one day, and I seen this guy carrying a bass drum up steps, and I said, is that Liberty Devitto? And I walked up. I said, Liberty. He goes, am I under arrest? It's a true story. So, and he was carrying a bass drum that Phil Collins gave him. Just so much stuff. We hung out so many times over my house. We used to jam together on percussion and drums. Great stories with Liberty. Great person. Real friendly with his current wife, Anna, who's just a sweetheart and in the business. The first time I think he met him, she was working for Ringo. So we'll talk about that hopefully. But Anna and Liberty, just it's a great marriage. Little pun there. Great marriage with them together. There's a great connection for Liberty and Anna. Just beautiful people. And I become friendly with Anna over there. She was always so kind to me years ago. So we got Liberty coming up, and we just we've been doing so many things behind the scenes. We're working on our promo video to get some sponsors involved. If you'd be so kind enough right now to maybe help us out and click that like and subscribe button down below and that notification bell to keep you up to date on everything we do around the kit. That'd be so appreciated. We're doing this promo video. We want to get sponsors involved now. So we're going to be probably a couple of more weeks, even a month. We're going to be getting that video out there. So many things behind the scenes. And we just got some great shows coming up. If we can, let's get to, if we can just get to where we're going to go. We always want to see where we're going in life. Where do we want to go? Where's the show going? And I always say to myself, we want to be on a certain level. And that's great. We've done so much in the past 7 years. This is our third show. The first two were live on YouTube. Now we're live on Facebook. Please, in the comments, let us know how you like the show. If you like me, if I look good. I comb my hair today, so I'm going to make sure everything's good. So we want to always get the feedback. Feedback's important. You cannot hurt our feelings. We need honesty. And we've been getting some great feedback from even the world-class players. So we always appreciate everybody's, take on things. And in the comments right now on Facebook, if you're watching and something you want, maybe you want to see a different guest or a different segment, let us know. We try to get that in the show. I always love to connect. I think if we converse better in life, things could be better. Let's talk it out. So if you're out there watching the show, let us know if you like it. But we appreciate it. It's our first show on Facebook, and we're pumped up. And if we can right now, I want to just get a couple of minutes, if he can come on camera, if he's not too shy. The great producer, Johnny. Johnny, you there, bro?
I'm in the dark.
You're in the dark.
Right.
What's up, brother?
I love you, man.
I love you, too. We've been doing so much. That's John Bessa, our producer, who's just been... I can't even tell you. You think everything is nice now. You see me. Everything's... If you've seen us like the other day or a couple of days ago, 10 minutes ago, pulling his hair. I don't have hair to pull out, but his hair is almost gone, and it's pretty long right now. But, John, we're live on Facebook today, and we're going to have the show back on YouTube. How would... Yeah, the rebroadcast on YouTube. How would you assess, if you had to give it the report card, our first two shows up to this point?
Let's hope we get everything done right from now on.
Yeah. But mistakes are part of the process.
Yeah, we got a lot of learning.
Mistakes are part of the process.
This is new, and that's why we decided to go Facebook tonight in the last 10 minutes.
Nice.
We're going to go YouTube, and we decided to change it. So I don't even think they can hear me. So let's get me off camera and let's get you back to the show.
Is our segment ready yet? Let me ask you that.
I believe so, yeah.
All the participants are here?
Yes.
Guys, if we can, let's get to our round table, and it's just my pleasure to welcome back to the show. Many of them have been on, all of them have been on several times. Billy Amendola, Joe Bergamini, and Rich Redmond. Guys, how you doing, bro? Guys?
Hey, Joe.
Everything is good. Is everybody here, John?
Yeah, are we on video for this too?
We're on video. We're on video, bro.
Okay.
Everybody's here. What's up, Billy?
Seeing half of Billy's face?
What's happening?
Where's Billy's face?
Happening.
I haven't. I know we're going back in time in the world, but I haven't used Skype and I can't remember how to create an account. You said just
Yeah, me too, man.
We just want to see all you guys' beautiful faces. That's about it. If you get that face.
I don't see me. What do I have to do? Oh, never mind. I'm up in this corner. You see me?
Yes.
Yes,
We
sir.
see you.
Okay, so then I don't have to see me.
Guys, welcome to the show. Billy Amendola, Joe Bergamini, Rich Redmond. Guys, thank you so much. I want to get right to the point because we have a living legend, friends of all of yours. You all know Liberty Devitto, and he's our guest at 8:30 tonight. I wanted to start with Billy from your modern drummer days with Liberty and now what you're doing with Drum Channel. Knowing him, knowing Liberty, Billy Amendola, what's the main thing, the main common factor, besides his playing, every time you're around Liberty DeVito, what does he bring to the table?
He's hysterical. He's a funny guy, which humor is a big part of a human being.
Sure.
He's kind, doesn't take any bullshit from anybody. He's just he's pretty down to earth, considering that he really is a rock star. I forget sometimes how famous he actually is when I go out with him and we're just hanging out and people are freaking out when they're meeting. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, I know over the years hanging out with him, we used to go shopping together. We used to work on his house. We would go to Costco and Lowe's, and it's right. It's like you don't even know you're standing next to somebody who's been all over the world, 150 million albums, all those hits. I mean, he's a legend, a living legend, and an all-time great drummer. Billy.
Yeah, no, I mean, as far as drum goes, he's one of the best. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And playing on all that Billy Joel, all those recordings and the records. I mean, same thing like Rich knows how important it is to play on on your boss's records.
Sure.
Not everybody gets to do that and have hit records and be on the radio every day. I mean, you can't turn on the radio and not hear Liberty on the radio.
That's the key. That's the key, Billy. You put the radio on, and probably every day you hear so much of Billy, of Billy and Liberty. Talk to me, Billy, before I get to the guys. Your relationship and where that started.
Well, I know Liv from back in the Billy Joel days, when Billy Joel was just starting to break.
Right.
I actually went to, I think it was the Bottom Line, and I sat like in the first row at the first table, and it was always uncomfortable at those places because you couldn't move and everything. But
okay.
I remember sitting like so close. And my buddy Jimmy said, we're gonna go see this guy because Jimmy played keyboards and he was singer-songwriter, so he was into Billy Joel. And I said, nah, to me Billy Joel was kind of schmaltzy or whatever. But Liberty brought the rock to that, just like Rich brought the rock. It's his fault that I like country music now. But Liberty, I went there and I saw, he had all the toms. It was a Thomas set, and I had a Ludwig set at the time. But he had the black kit like I did with all the toms. And I watched him that night. I don't think I took my eyes off of him. I mean, the songs that I knew from Billy Joel, yeah. But like I said, they were a little schmaltzy. I wasn't like a huge Billy Joel fan. But Liberty as a drummer, from that point on, I was like, I paid more attention to, I bought Billy Joel records for the reason to hear Liberty. And to me, probably my favorite song of Liberty's, I mean, there's so many, but my favorite one is Laura. From the Nylon Curtain.
Sure.
I mean, because it sounds like John Lennon, and I know Billy had said he was trying to be John Lennon in that song. Right. That, to me, I mean, he sounds like Ringo so much, and we both admire Ringo so much, and we grew up with all the same guys, Dino Danelli and Carmine and everybody. But in Laura, he's really, I mean, you could tell somebody that's Ringo on there, and, if John Lennon was singing that, they would believe you.
Yeah. Guys, great stuff. The great Billy Amendola.
I just want to say one thing because I kept talking about Rich, but Joe's an unbelievable drummer. Joe Bergamini is a fantastic drummer. I used to go see him when he was playing with the Rush Band here. He would come to Brooklyn. That was probably like 30 years ago, right, Joe?
Power Windows.
Now Joe is getting the word out, not only with his drumming, but all the great books he's been writing. It's amazing. So congrats on that,
Thanks,
Joe.
Billy.
Let's get to Joe. What's up, Joe? How you doing, brother?
Hey, Joe. Billy, Rich. What's up, guys?
The great Joe Bergamini on the show several times. I go back to Joe with Power Windows. Just a great. I seen them. I think we talked about this on Bleecker Street. I think it was the Rock and Roll Cafe. Am I correct?
That's right. I guess we were like a local legend. Or something.
Ah, it's great. Tremendous stuff. Joe, talk to me. We're going to get to the book in a second. You're a big part of this book. My God, I'm on my second read. It's a brilliant read, and you guys deserve credit with Rob Wallace and Hudson. But growing up, we're about almost the same age, me and you. We have a lot of the same background in music, metal and this. We both love Scott Rockenfield. You did a great piece on him, my guy. But talk to me about Lib and growing up and listening to Lib. Like Billy said, he was all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Liberty was definitely one of my drum heroes growing up. I identified with guys like Neil Peart, who were identifiable to me in the music. And Liberty to me is, he always calls himself a songwriter's drummer, but his parts are recognizable alone. If you play Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, if you play Rosalinda's Eyes, if you play Just the Way You Are, Miami 2017, these drum parts are iconic and recognizable as creative pieces without the song. Hence, Liberty's involvement in making those songs hits. So he was definitely one of my drum heroes. I actually just pulled this off the bookshelf. You guys remember this? This is old.
Nice.
This old. So this book, he was a hero of mine. And when I met, as everyone knows, I studied with Dom Tangolaro. Dom's my mentor. I want to send out my best for him.
Please. All the best.
Right now.
All the best. All the best to Dom.
Absolutely. I talked to him earlier today. Actually.
Good.
But the first time they said, a friend of mine from Thomas said, you should study with Dom. And the first place I met Dom was when he was on clinic tour with Lib. So I got to meet Lib, and it was the first time I ever met one of my heroes. And he was just the nicest, just super nice to me as a young drummer. And I never forgot that. And I have sort of this other weird connection with him, which is that one of my first better known pro gigs was I played Moving Out on Broadway. And so Lib wasn't involved with the show. And it took a while to come full circle. And then we got to be friends after that, and we got to work on the book together. But it's like he's always been, and his music and his drumming have always been close to me and part of me. I've always identified with them, and they've been part of my career. I mean, Moving Out was a huge step in my career.
Well, yeah, Joe, yes.
And I thanked him.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, I just got to thank him for that.
Yeah, and like you said, it's been a story of our lives. I know all four of us, but like you said, it's a story. This book, I can't even tell you how much I relate to it with my immigrant parents growing up. It's so true. Everything in my life has come into fruition. Like this book a lot. Let's talk about life, Billy, and the pursuit of happiness. Tell everybody your part in the book, Joe.
So, as a drum editor for Hudson Music, I get to work with a lot of my favorite drummers. And recently, we've been doing these more biographies or books, as we call it. They don't have notation in them. And I never really trained or had any kind of goal to work on that. I just love telling stories. I love reading, and it worked out great. And so we had done some other works. Other biographies. Bobby Morris was the first one I worked on with Hudson. And then Rob told me that he was considering publishing Lib's autobiography. And so my role was, I was basically the editor, and then I had the chance to actually work with Liberty and just fine-tune how he was telling the story and do the things the editors do, everything from commas and paragraphs to even helping him, get. There were certain things I found really compelling in his story that I didn't know until we worked on the book. And I didn't really know a lot about some of the personal struggles we went through at the end of his time with Billy. Of course, I loved all the history of him, being an Italian-American guy from Jersey. I identified with all his history, of course. But he's really open in the book, and I found it to be really compelling.
Love it.
And of course, on top of that, I mean, how lucky can one guy get? I get to work with my heroes. There's Neil Peart. And so Liberty, as much as he's one of those guys that I love him as a friend, and he's a wonderful person, like Billy said, but I still pinch myself because he's, I said this about Neil. It's almost like he's two entities for me. He's the superhero guy that I still play along to his records, and he's left this legacy of drumming that will live on forever that I love. And he's this Italian guy from Long Island that's just a super sweet guy that I know and that I really like.
Yeah.
And so if you haven't read the book, I think if you like Billy Joel, or if you like rock drumming, or you like the story of, really compelling, he identified as Billy Joel's drummer was his life. But that's not what a person is. A person is a person. And it's the story of him as a person. And it's a really compelling story, and I'm proud to have been part of it.
There's some great guys. Check out Life, Billy, and the Pursuit of Happiness. The book has some great high points. There's some dark points what I hope to touch on with Lib. There's some dark points where he was in a very dark place and a certain person came into his life. We'll get to that. Rich Redmond, what is up, my brother?
Hey, it's so great to be here, all you guys, to see all your faces, especially after the last couple of years that we've had. And I've been trying to come on the show the last couple of weeks, and I've been somewhere in the middle of like a field, like playing a festival with no Wi-Fi. So it's awesome to be here and to be talking about, one of my heroes. I'm a child of MTV. So,
Right.
To when I was learning the drums, to be like studying Lib, and, I got off the record book and then in later years, you reap what you sow. If you're in the game long enough and you do the right things, your heroes become your friends. And like, I could text Liberty and like send him some strange meme in the middle of the night and he'll actually get back to me. And we've done cool camps together and he's taught at my camp. And, he's just like a larger than life personality who plays his personality on the drums,
Yes. And I wanted to bring Billy, of course, on and Joe tonight because they're friends and a part of the book. But I wanted you especially, and I'm glad you can make it. Thank you, brother, because I look at the careers of Liberty, and maybe the playing is different styles in a way, but some parts are the same. But you guys have a lot of success, and I wanted to know from you, how at times to monitor, how do you, bring all that success into fruition without letting it get too crazy, because it's you have I think the 22 number one hits with Jason Aldean. If it's more, I'm but just Billy Joe and Jason Aldean, all those hits. Talk to me how you keep it all into groups.
Perspective.
Yeah.
Well, I guess just kind of like being grounded, and just realizing like why we got into this in the first place, and just like I said, that MTV thing was like, oh my God, I think I can do that. I want to do that. How do I do that? And you take lessons and you you invest in yourself, and maybe you go to college and you're, playing the weddings and the bar mitzvahs and the corporate parties and the puppet shows, and you just do all the things, but you keep that eye on the prize. And if you just kind of keep that in perspective, I think that was the same for Lib. He was traveling the world, and, he had some chef cooking him 3 meals a day and someone setting up his drums. But when it's time to do that show, it doesn't matter if you're jet lagged or dehydrated or you got explosive diarrhea, like the show must go on, and that's why we travel those 22 hours a day, so we can do those 2 hours. And so, a lot of my heroes, I think, have kept that in perspective. Definitely Lib, and, he walks the walk, he's so great with the kids, got such a great personality, just a down to earth guy, and so like, I think a lot of the most successful people in the music business are really just down to earth people, that like grilling on the weekends, and they have friends and they return their mom's phone calls and the whole deal,
Yeah, just great stuff, guys. Billy Amendola, Joe Bergamini, Rich Redmond. Before I let you go, I want to go back around. Billy, I think we talked the other day off camera and everything. What do you got coming up? What are you doing now in the world of drumming?
Well, I'm working. I'm the East Coast representative for Drum Channel now. So, I left Modern Drummer after almost 30 years.
Right.
Wow.
Just, it's time to move on, do other things. And I like what Drum Channel is doing. And I'm going to bring a little entertainment and craziness over to that now, because they're heavy on the educational end, but they got that wrapped up and they don't need my help with that. So I'm just going to do my podcast. Every Friday I have a podcast. I think I did 10 already.
Nice.
So far. So I'm filming one with him on Tuesday.
Nice.
Well,
Nice.
That'll be coming up. Rich, I mentioned Rich, I think 3 or 4 times.
Let's do it, man. We'll do this.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody's going to teach you how to twirl a stick, I'm going to bring Rich on. But one thing before, when you said something about like with Billy Joel and Jason Aldean,
right.
Billy Joel used to acknowledge Liberty, and I don't want to get Rich in trouble, but Jason I know he's a good boss, but when he wins an award, he needs to thank his band once in a while. I'm just saying.
Thanks, Billy.
Absolutely. Let's get to Joe Bergamini. Joe, what are you doing? You're still playing with the doo-wop, and what's going on with you?
So the Doo-Wop Project has a PBS special. It's airing around America now. It'll be on in the New York area 4th of July, and it'll be on around the rest of the country. I'll be back out on the road with them later in the year. And I just want to say, Joe, thank you for having me on so many times. Billy, you've been a force in this business for years. You've been always there. looking forward to seeing you Tuesday. But you're just a special force in this business that I'm proud to be your friend and to see everything you're doing, man. And Rich, man, you are just so amazing. When we talk and hang out, I enjoy our time, our friendship and our time together. I forget what a big star.
Oh, me too.
You handle yourself with such class. And I admire it, brother. Really.
Well, thank you. Likewise to all you guys.
Mike,
But that's what I'm doing. Working on a couple of the books, teaching some lessons, playing some gigs, and just being lucky and thankful to make a living doing this.
Before I get to Rich and say goodbye, have you ever thought about throwing like a little Neil licks into like the doo-wop? Like maybe stuff from like that'd be great. That'd be
yeah. If I do that, I'll have lots of time to come on podcast.
And you'll be unemployed. Rich Redmond, man, I think you're on tour. And let me tell you guys, we're all busy. This guy is like the Energizer Bunny. You've been nice to me, and I thank you all. Rich, what do you got coming up? You're on tour, right?
Yeah, we're on tour. Thank God, after the couple years we had, we toured last year, August, September, October. It was amazing. Just like renewing that gratitude and humility, and getting to do my job with all these favorite people that I've been doing for 20 years. Unbelievable. So we're doing like 50, 60 shows this year. Jason's got a double record, 30 songs. We released it we drifted out on the platforms, kind of like, double album, like Kiss double platinum, it was really cool. And, doing the touring thing, and around that, the sessions and the teaching, and I do my little motivational speaking, and it's just try to keep busy and, have fun.
Were you doing something? I think we talked a couple years ago with Billy Sheehan. Did that come into play?
Yeah, I had a band called The Fell, and we were together for about 6 months, but it's when you get all those kind of cats together and they all have a million other things going, it's really hard. There's only one Saturday night a week, so it gets a little difficult. Yeah. But that was really fun.
Guys.
And didn't the pandemic kind of squash that a little too?
I think we broke up pre-pandemic, and then, then that thing was like, wow, a lot of time on our hands. But, I taught at Musicians Institute, stared into that little green light and showed the kids paradiddles and tried to grade their swing patterns and stuff. It was really interesting. I love teaching in person.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I really do.
Well, I just want to, from me and all of us around the kid, Billy, thank you so much. Billy Amendola, Joe Bergamini, and Rich Redmond, thank you so much. You've made the show better tonight. I'll be in touch with you guys. You've always been good to me, and I owe you guys so much. Thank you guys for this time tonight.
Thank you, Joe.
Guys,
say hi to Lib.
I will. Yeah. I'll say hi.
Tell
guys,
Lib, I only came on because I thought this was a roast. Bye, everyone.
Guys, thanks so much.
Bye, guys. Happy Sunday.
All right, great stuff. Oh, man. When we do these round tables, guys, I wish that they could be longer. And we're going to do a show, me and my producer, John Betts, talking about it. We're going to do shows where we're going to make these round tables like the 3 or 4 guests longer, because I didn't want them to go. It's just great stuff. But, we have time restraints tonight. But just great to have them all. Billy Amendola, all those years with Modern Drummer, now at the Drum Channel. Joe Bergamini with his great doo-wop project. And I seen him about 30 years ago. I was walking with my friends, and I used to play these clubs, the Elbow Room, Kenny's Castaways, Rock and Roll Cafe, all on Bleecker Street. Great. I don't know if these clubs are still there. The Bitter End is over there. We used to play these clubs, and I walked into this club, and it was packed, and Joe was doing this. He was actually doing the solo, Neil's solo. He just personified Neil, and you could see it in his band Power Windows. And Rich Redmond, what do you say? Have you ever met Rich? I met Rich twice, and he's just so vibrant, even more than on camera. But Jason Aldean. So we thank Joe Bergamini, Rich Redmond, and Billy Amendola for their time. It means so much. Guys, let's take this time of the show to get to our main sponsor, Senten Symbol. Around the Kid is sponsored by Senten Cymbals. Senten Cymbals is quickly becoming the choice for drummers worldwide. With their roots going back to the emperors of the Qing dynasty, Senten blends the best of old world know-how with modern techniques to help all drummers find the best fit for them. Whether you're an avid drumming enthusiast or touring professional, Senten has the perfect combination of products, pricing, and service to fit any drummer's needs. Contact them today to find out what the drum love is really all about. Send 10 cymbals. Forge your sound.
All right, we are back once again with another amazing night of all things drummers, drums, and drumming. Hello, everyone. This is Doug Miola with our new Around the Kit Spotlight Drummer series. Tonight's Spotlight drummer is Kenny Jones. Born on September 16, 1948, in Whitechapel, London, England, Kenny is famously known as the drummer with the bands The Small Faces, Faces, and The Who, three of the biggest bands to come out of the UK. Kenny picked up on playing the drums at an early age in his parents' home in Stepney, East London, and he decided early on that music would play a central role in his life. Kenny began playing with the Small Faces as a founding member with Ronnie Lane when he was just 15 years old, so being a part of a band had become a way of life for him at an early age. At just 16 years old, Kenny had his first hit record when he shot to fame with the Small Faces, who were at the heart of the mod revolution which swept Britain at the time. Active from 1965 to 1969, the Small Faces were part of the mod trend of the 1960s, who have been cited as a major influence on many musicians and bands that have come up in the last 60-plus years. After the departure of lead singer and guitarist Steve Marriott in 1969, the group recruited singer Rod Stewart and guitarist Ronnie Wood to replace Marriott. Both were formerly from the Jeff Beck Group. The band changed its name to The Faces, and the lineup was rounded out with Ian McLagan and Ronnie Lane. The Faces took the rock world by storm in the early 1970s on both sides of the Atlantic and became one of the most raucous, fun-loving bands of the time with a fanatical following. Their first two albums, First Step and Long Player, lacked a hit single, but their third album, 1971's A Nod Is As Good As a Wink, bolstered by the success of Rod Stewart's solo work, became a worldwide hit, spawning the band's first hit single, Stay With Me. Unfortunately, tensions in the band came to a head during the recording of their fourth and final studio album, 1973's Ooh La La. Ronnie Lane, who was a founding member of Small Faces, left over his diminishing role in the band. Tetsu Yamauchi was recruited to take over bass duties for the band, and they continued to tour throughout 1974 and 1975, releasing a live album in 1974 called Coast to Coast, Overture and Beginners that was jointly credited to Rod Stewart and the Faces. Kenny remained with the Faces until the band broke up in late 1975, having recorded 4 studio albums and a live album with them. By this time, Kenny was recognized as one of the top drummers in the rock industry. In November 1978, Kenny was invited by guitarist Pete Townsend and manager Bill Curbshley to join The Who, replacing their original drummer Keith Moon, who had died of a drug overdose that September. Kenny was a great candidate for The Who, in part because the band had been friendly with him from his days with the Small Faces. Kenny and Keith Moon were actually friends and were together on the last night of Keith Moon's life in 1978 as part of a viewing party put together by Paul McCartney for the Buddy Holly Story movie. Kenny had previously played with Pete Townsend, Roger Daltrey, and John Entwistle on the Tommy soundtrack. He played on the albums Face Dances and It's Hard with The Who, and also played on the soundtrack for Daltrey's film McVicker, as well as on the band's tours from 1979 to 1982. Kenny played with the band at Live Aid in 1985. His final appearance as a regular member of The Who was when the group received a Lifetime Achievement Award at the 1988 British Phonograph Industry Awards ceremony. Kenny was then replaced by Simon Phillips for The Who's 1989 reunion tour. Kenny has stated that he virtually taught Zach Starkey, son of Ringo Starr, how to play drums. Jones was close friends with Starkey's parents. After replacing Keith Moon in The Who, Jones gave Zach Starkey one of Keith Moon's old drum kits. In 1996, Zach Starkey would become The Who's new touring drummer. After leaving The Who, Kenny hooked up with former Bad Company singer Paul Rogers to form the band The Law in the early 1990s, releasing a critically acclaimed album called The Law, which reinforced Kenny's reputation as a gifted and talented musician. Although the Small Faces, The Who, and The Law have been the four main bands in his life, Kenny has always been a much sought-after session drummer during his career and has performed with some of the biggest names in the music business. Kenny recorded a single of his own called Ready or Not and has made appearances on many albums, including those by the Rolling Stones, Andy Fairweather Lowe, Joan Armatrading, Marsha Hunt, Mike Batt, Pete Townsend, Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis, David Essex, John Lodge, and Wings. Following his time with Paul Rogers in the band The Law, Kenny took some time off to concentrate on one of his other passions, polo. He realized a dream by opening and developing his own Hurtwood Park Polo Club, and it was there during a series of charity gigs with various musician friends that he first got the idea of forming another new band. A band which would eventually become the Jones Gang, which includes Rick Wills and Robert Hart. In 2005, the Jones Gang released their debut album, Any Day Now. Kenny has 6 children and is married to the former model Jane Andrew, the mother of 4 of his children. In September 2013, Kenny was diagnosed with prostate cancer, for which he was able to get treated for and overcome. To many of us, Kenny is a living legend, being a driving and influential force in drumming and music throughout several decades of an amazing period in the music industry. Thank you for your inspiration and influence, Kenny. We wish you continued success and happiness as you continue your journey.
Hey guys, we are live. Let's get to our interview now with the legendary Liberty Devitto. What's up, Liv?
What's up, Joe?
How are you, brother?
Legendary, man. That's a big word. Big word, legendary.
You deserve it, bro. You deserve it. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am great. You look great as always. We've seen each other at the Delaware Drum Show, and I hope everything is good with you and Anna and all the girls.
Oh, everything's fine. Hey, Joe, how old's your kid now?
My daughter will be 15 next month.
Oh, my God.
15.
Unbelievable.
15, I know. Time goes by.
So fast. Too fast.
Yeah.
Too fast.
Let's take a trip, brother, down memory lane. I want to get to so much. We'll talk about this brilliant read that I'm on my second time reading, Life, Billy, and the Pursuit of Happiness. I read it once, and I'm just on my second time. It's a great job by you. I love it, brother.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
it was a labor of love, man. It was a labor of love.
Oh, there's so much passion. There's so much realness in there, if that's a word. It's just real. It's raw. It's emotional, and it just gets to the point. So we'll get to that. Let's go back a little bit. You were born in Brooklyn, Kings County Hospital, but you really, 1950. But you really made your beef in life at like 3834 Naomi Street in Seaford, Long Island. Talk to me about these days growing up with immigrant parents, like so much of us and so many of us did. The Italian upbringing and how it molded you early on.
Joe, it's funny you say Naomi. There is a Naomi in Seaford, Naomi Street, but I was on Miami.
Miami. I'm sorry. I read it. Yeah, I'm sorry. Miami.
But there is a Naomi in Seaford too. It's really funny. But yeah, growing up, we left Brooklyn. My dad was a police officer in the area that I'm in now, Clinton Hill, Park Slope, and Prospect Heights, in that area, the 77th precinct. So he didn't want us to grow up here, his children to grow up here. So we moved out to Long Island when I was like 6 months old. So growing up there, it was like every typical Italian person that has read the book and can relate to it. The Sunday dinners, grandparents, always going every Sunday to visit your grandparents. Right. The whole family vibe was so tight back then, and it just made me, my dad came out of World War II, and so it made me respect those soldiers and the soldiers now and everything like that. It made me into this person that I am today, like music made me into this person that I am today. My mom loved music when she was growing up. She used to cut school to go see Glenn Miller and Frank Sinatra, and they encouraged me to play. But during the time when I wanted to learn how to play drums, it was when the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan Show, and nobody really wanted to teach me how to play like Ringo because they all thought he stinks, and the Beatles were going to be a flash in the pan. Little did they know that they would change music twice.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, it was an interesting time. Interesting time.
We talk about your parents of Vincent and Josephine, and a remarkable statement in the book. Your father bought the house for $3. It's just hard to understand that. Talk about how that came into fruition, and was it really $3?
Well, here's the deal. They went to Jones Beach. They were in Brooklyn at the time. They went to Jones Beach, and on the way home, they stopped at these houses. They were like Levitt homes, the famous Levittown.
Sure.
These were in East Meadow. They were the same exact kind of house as a Levitt house. Just those little Monopoly houses that you put on Monopoly, those little green things. Yeah. They're shaped like that. That was it. My father and mother go in to see this house. They walk out, and the guy says, "You like the house?" And my dad says, "Yeah, it's really nice." And he says, "Well, why don't you buy one?" And my father says, I don't have any money. And the guy says, "Are you a GI?" And my father says, "Yeah, I am." He said, "How much money do you have in your pocket?" And my dad says, "I got $3." Goes, "You bought yourself a house." Back then, the government did a lot for the soldiers. Back then, it was a different world back then. I mean, we loved our soldiers, and the government loved them.
Yeah.
But now it's different. I don't think that could happen today.
Yeah. Guys, we got talking to the tremendous Liberty Devitto. At 13, you pondered this question: what will I do when I grow up? That answer came on February 9th, 1964, with the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. It was monumental for millions of people. Was this your first musical education in some way?
Joey, listen, I loved music, always did. Back, the first thing I ever heard that I fell in love with was "I Wonder Why" by Dion and the Belmonts.
Yeah.
That, I love music. I love listening to it. I love the Orleans. I love, all that stuff growing up. Gene Pitney, all that kind of stuff. Love music. Never thought about playing drums. My parents bought me a set of drums because their cousin was selling them because he was buying new ones. And later on in my career, when I asked my dad, "Why did he buy me drums?" he said, "Because they didn't make Prozac when you were a kid." So I had this set of drums, and I used to sit behind it. And I joined the elementary school band in the 6th grade when I got the drum set. And I couldn't do the buzz roll in the Star Spangled Banner. The teacher said, "Put down the sticks, DeVito, you'll never do anything with the drums." So I was discouraged. I mean, that wasn't very nice of him to say something like that.
Right.
Sure. He's a teacher. He should encourage you to do things.
Yeah.
But then on that February night that you talk about, when the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan Show, and I watched them, and when the camera panned the audience, these girls were screaming, and I saw my sister screaming on a black and white TV, and I thought, that's what I want to do. Forget the buzz roll. I want to do that. I want to get a bunch of my friends. We get together and just play music. And that changed everything for me. That's when I knew what I wanted to do.
Absolutely. And so many of my guests over the years, and many friends of yours, have alluded to this same kind of story. What was it? I know you had said you wanted to, it's a good way to meet girls. And
Yes.
you told me years ago when we used to hang out, and actually in a book, it was a great way to meet girls. But was it also their playing, or just the whole culmination of the excitement of this new sort of, musical experience?
Joe, these guys could have came from Mars. Nobody knew where Liverpool was, let alone where England was. I mean, here they were. They had this weird accent. They dressed in suits. Who wore suits? Their hair was long over their ears. And Ringo was pounding the drums. You got to remember that up until that time, everything like Glenn Miller was a shuffle, that kind of thing, right? Even Elvis, when he did like Teddy Bear and all that kind of
Right.
stuff, it was the shuffle. Darling, let me be your loving teddy bear, right? So Ringo comes along, and all of a sudden he's playing on the hi hat, and people are going like, "That's crazy! This guy's killing this drum set," you know. But it was like they were ours now. The Beatles were my generation. I was 13 years old, ready to be 14 in August,
Right.
and they were my generation. But my cousins were into Elvis. They had Elvis. Now we had this group called the Beatles.
Yeah.
That just changed everything.
When you look at all different genres today, I grew up in a very primarily heavy metal background, but I love everything now from Aerosmith to Yanni in between. I'm a big Frank Sinatra fan. But when you look at the Beatles, and especially Ringo's patterns and his phrasing, his stuff is going on today in all different genres. Heavy metal drummers, when you hear the phrasing in songs, that's Ringo. I don't think we realize the influence that he has had over 60 years.
He showed that simplicity
Right.
really does a lot. You know, keeping it simple. And you know, he was kind of like the songwriter drummer that
Right.
to be in the band. I mean, there was always Hal Blaine and these other guys that played on the records. They were definitely songwriter drummers.
Yeah, yeah.
But Ringo was the first one that was in a group that actually, you know, they were one thing together. And yeah, he just changed the way we listen to music. You know, I saw an interview with Ozzy Osbourne, and he said the first time he heard the Beatles, he freaked out, and he was like, "That's what I want to do," you know. So yeah, the Beatles they transcend into so many different genres, like you say. You know, I mean, when Paul McCartney heard that the Who was the loudest band that ever played, that's why he wrote Helter Skelter. He wanted to write something that was really loud,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they were always influenced by other bands, and other bands influenced them. The Beach Boys. They wouldn't have done Sgt. Pepper if the Beach Boys didn't do Pet Sounds,
Okay, cool.
you know?
Yeah. So much to talk with Libby today. Talking about life, Billy, and the pursuit of happiness. And I want to get to quotes in this great book. I've never been one big on drum solos. I find them very self-serving, like masturbation. That's just a brilliant line. It's brilliant. It's great. It's great.
Well, Joey, like I continue on in that phrase. The only two solos I ever really liked were Gene Kelly or Fred Astaire. They both do
Right.
the same thing. They tap dance and play on a drum set while they're tapping. They use the bass drum. They kick it with their feet and they play the snare. And when Buddy Rich was on the Muppet Show, he just played with sticks all around the studio. Just banged on anything. I thought that was brilliant. I mean, there's other solos that I like Ginger Baker when he played Toad. It was a wonderful solo. Mitch Mitchell with Jimi Hendrix has done things. But right now, you know, the double bass drum thing has been beat to death. Everybody does it. And most drummers really, when they have a double pedal, they depend on that double pedal
Right.
a lot.
Sure.
And they can't do with the one pedal what you could normally do, you know. So I'm a one pedal guy. And as far as solos go, I got this gig coming up. Like that's why I had to call you and we do it.
Yeah, sure.
This now, because a friend of mine couldn't do a gig, and I'm going to do this gig, and I'm listening to the tunes, and at the end of one of the tunes there's a drum solo, and I told him I don't do drum solos. I've only done one in my life, and it's in the Hired Gun video.
Right.
When we talk about like me ending it with Billy. That's the only time I've ever done a drum solo.
Right.
You know?
It's just not.
I'm not a fan of them.
Yeah, I understand. Great stuff. You've had great mentors in your life, going back to your family, but in the professional and drumming career world, talk about Carmine Appice early on, Ringo, and a guy that doesn't get enough credit, who you loved early on, the great Dino Danelli. Talk to me about the inspiration and direction that these drummers put you in.
Joe, let me tell you something. So, okay, first was Ringo, right? Then, you know, because Ringo was in a band and he was playing his heart out, and I just loved the whole fact that they were making music together, and he was on this big high riser, and you could see him no matter where the camera was, you always saw Ringo. So that was my first learning to play drums. listening to Ringo and trying to mimic him. Then when I saw the Young Rascals and Dino Danelli, it was the first time I looked at a band and said to myself, the drummer could be as much a focus as the lead singer is. Where in the Beatles, Ringo was up there, but I mean, John and Paul and George were out front. You know,
Right. Yeah.
the girls loved Paul. You know, but this time Dino was like, "Oh my God, I can't take my eyes off this guy." You know, so he bumped Ringo right off the drum stool for me. He became my guy that I would listen to and emulate. Then when I saw Carmine, I was 17 years old, and I saw the Vanilla Fudge for the first time, and he had the Dino visual, but the power that I'd never heard before. And I thought, oh my God, he frightened me, Joe. It scared me when I first saw him play. It's like, how do you play like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And we became very close,
Yeah.
you know, over the years. I'm still friends with Carmine, you know. I became friends with Dino too, but Dino kind of like after this last thing that the Rascals did, kind of went into hiding. So it's hard to get in touch with them. Yeah.
I remember a couple of years back, you were at some function with, I think, Vinny Appice and Carmine came to the mic, and he actually said this: I like to introduce the guy that hits almost as hard as my brother Vinny. You're a hard player too. I think there's that New York attitude, if you may. Even guys like Joe Franco, who's a friend of yours, there's a New York attitude, and Carmine and you just, personify that, perfectly.
Yeah, I was called once. I play like a heavy metal drummer in a pop band. That's
Sure.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I always felt that people, as the band got bigger with Billy, we kept getting bigger. We started out in clubs, then we went to theaters, then we went to arenas,
Sure.
and then we went to stadiums. Now, in a stadium, you're watching the band, and you can't really see anybody. So when we started to go into arenas, I thought I have to over exaggerate things so people in the back row can see something. They want to see a show. They're not there just to hear the sound. They want to see a show. So I would over exaggerate with my arms and hitting the cymbals and stuff like that. And it became a thing. And I know that a lot of guys do that now, where drummers just used to play,
Yeah.
Now we actually show the people that, our job is to get those people up off their butts to dance. And when everybody in an arena or a coliseum is dancing, it's you that's doing it. You're the one that's setting that pace.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just a fantastic feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Later on, you get a chance to play with your first band, the Rogues, and then later on, your first live experience. It's always, remember our first live experience, 30 kids in the backyard. How was this? Was it, were you excited for that backyard first taste, element?
We couldn't believe that these kids were coming in the backyard when they were hearing us play.
Right.
And you notice that the more kids that come, especially young girls, we were only like 14, 15 then,
right.
And the girls would come, and you play better when they come.
Yeah.
And then that's when you realize it's an exchange. You play like Billy always said, you play a song, the people react. If it's a great reaction, then you play the next song even better. And then you start to have this relationship with the audience. And that was the first time I ever had the relationship with the audience. It was like they're watching you.
Right.
And it's just a great feeling. And then you get off the drum set and you walk over and they're like, wow, he was so great. The first time my band, the Rogues, ever got asked to play a high school dance, we were like juniors or something like that in high school, or even sophomores. And they asked us to play a high school dance. And the next day, the people that had no idea who I was, all of a sudden come up to me, like, because I was the drummer that played that night.
Right.
And they thought it was so good that the drums actually gave me an identity in the school. I wasn't the sports guy. I wasn't the guy that hit the home run in the last secret high school ball game.
Right.
No, I was that drummer that played that night, you know? So it was
Yeah.
like the drums music does that for you,
Yeah.
you,
And
you know?
yeah, I always put this connection. I don't know if you agree. A drummer is like a catcher in baseball because we see everything in front of us, and we have the best seat in the house.
We have the best seat in the house. We are the one that is picking up the slack for
Yeah.
everyone else that's out there, you know?
Yeah.
And also, we both have very bad knees in the end.
And we control the pace. It's important to control that pace. Yes.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. You know, if the lead singer's like having a hard night, you got to go out to the mound and tell him, hey, you know, it's okay. We're going to get through this.
Yeah. You mentioned before the word reaction. For you personally, was that important? Did you need that reaction to play better?
Oh God, yeah. I love the reaction.
Yeah.
You know, I depend on the reaction. When we played the Soviet Union with Billy Joel, the first night that we played, I remember we started with Angry Young Man, and the crowd just sat there. You know, the communists, they couldn't get up and dance. They weren't allowed to do that and stuff like that. But we could see them just sitting there, and some of them were holding their hands over their ears because now we had brought a full production,
Yeah.
something that you would see at Madison Square Garden. We brought it to the Soviet Union for these people to see and experience what people experience in New York and all
Uh-huh.
around the United States and other
Yeah.
parts of the world. So they put their hands over their ears, and Billy looks at me and goes, "We're dead. We're dead. They hate us." You know. But you know, then it seemed to work out after that. Once we heard people cheering in the back, we said, "Look, it's going to get louder. It's going to stay this loud. It's going to get louder. There's people in the back. You should move back and change seats with them and give them your tickets to come forward." And then it you know, the reaction started from the crowd, and it was all over after that.
You mentioned Russia. It's in the book. I read the whole book and as a big chapter on it and how you guys went there. You didn't know what to expect. A lot of different rules of what you can do, what you can't do. And the people there, you became friends with them. I think you even invited them back for a barbecue in New
Yeah.
York. Talk to me about the connection. And I think you actually were crying one night when they left.
Yeah, well, the connection was unbelievable. When
Yeah.
we were in the Soviet Union, you know, I mean, these people had nothing, Joe.
Yeah.
You know, they waited online. You could see the lines like going for blocks, and you ask them what's on the end of the line, and they don't even know. I mean, it could be shoes, it could be bread, it could be something, you know, but they don't know. They're just online to get what you get. Now, in the Soviet Union at the time, you couldn't have something that someone else couldn't have. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Like you could have a double bass drum Ludwig kit, and if I don't have it, it's cool that you have it. It doesn't matter that I don't have one. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But in the Soviet Union, everything was equal. Everything was rationed out by the government, and that's the way it went. So I went to see this band, and the guy's cymbals were just busted up, just busted. And I said to him, I said, "I'm going to give you my cymbals after the last show. You come to the show, and I'm going to give you the cymbals that are on my kit." So he comes to the show. I give him the cymbals, and he starts walking out with them, and the guards stop him. I'm now talking soldiers, you know, with guns and stuff.
Yeah.
They stop him, and they say, "Where are you going with those?" And he said, "The drummer just gave them to me. I'm bringing them home." And they said, "You can't have these." And he said, "They're broken." And the guy says, "Where are they broken?" And he goes, "Look, there's a hole in the middle of them." they let him go. They let him go, Joe.
That
They
is
let
brilliant.
him go.
What
But
did
yeah, the relationships were unbelievable that we had with these people. And yeah, on the plane home, everyone was crying. I mean, there was no color there. Everything
Yeah.
was like gray and you know, St. Basil's was the only place that had a lot of color. In Red Square, you know, there was a little bit of color, but everything else was gray. So when we landed in England first after leaving the Soviet Union, all of a sudden, all this colorful stuff all over the place, you
Right,
know.
right.
It almost hurt your eyes.
Yeah, yeah. Before you went there, on the way there, did you have this persona? What did you think you were going to experience? And leaving that, did that experience come into effect, or did you experience something that you didn't expect?
Joe, let me tell you something. They were always the enemy for us.
Right.
In school, I used to hide under the desk, you know, in case, because they were going to bomb us, drop
Right.
bombs on us, like a desk is going to save your life. You know, if a bomb drops on the school, the desk is going to save you. You know, we had air raid drills, all the kinds of things like that. I thought when we went to the Soviet Union, I was going to see these three-headed monsters that breathe fire. And, you know, I'm thinking as I'm flying there, oh my God, my name is Liberty. God, this is insane.
Yeah.
Going to this closed off country that has a wall around it. That's how paranoid these people are. And my name is Liberty, which interprets as freedom, you know?
Yeah.
So I really did it up as far as being the American. You know, my shirt, I had an American flag on it. I had all the kinds of pins on my jacket that I was wearing when we played, you know, Mickey Mouse, everything, the American flags on
Right.
it, and everything like that. Had flags on my drum set. Billy told me to tone it down. He said, you need to tone it down. They're going to think you're the ugly American. A translator, the guy that translated for Billy on stage, when I saw him 25 years later, he said, that's not what happened. What happened was when you were up there and your arms were flailing and those people saw that American flag, they were experienced what it's like to be free,
Freedom.
to be a free thinker, you know. And he said, if you ever come back to the Soviet Union, you need to do drum clinics because we have great musicians in the Soviet Union,
Right.
but we don't have great drummers because to be a great drummer, you have to think outside the box. And we're not allowed to do that. It was so interesting to me.
Yes, it's a great lesson in life, Liv, if you think about it, because what we're taught in life, what we see in the papers and on TV, is not always how it is.
No, Joe, I was standing
Right.
on the ground and I looked up at the sky and I saw the same clouds that are over our country.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's when I realized it's government against government. It's not
Sure.
the people,
Right. Right.
you know?
Yeah. I like to take quotes from the book and going back to your mother and father. Your father, Vincent, of course, was a cop. A very powerful line in the book, and I just it got me just almost emotional. I think my father loved me, but I'm not sure he ever liked me.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Well, when he met my mother, you know, he always said he met his Gita Lola Brigida, you know, the most beautiful woman in the world at that
Mhm.
time. And he just loved being with this woman, you know. And then, like I say in the book, my parents got married in June, and I was born in August. So
Right.
figure it out why they
Right.
got
Sure.
married.
Right.
You know?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I come along, and my mother is giving me all the attention, and I think my dad was jealous of it. Up until the day he died, I always think he was jealous of it. You know, like my mom, when I used to go visit her, you know, we're older, when I'm older now, and used to go visit my mom, she used to hug me and oh, my son, and my father used to be in the back down there. Oh yeah, your son, you know, like she loved her children more than she loved him.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, being a father now, you know what
Sure.
you
Sure.
feel for
Oh,
your
yeah.
child.
Yeah.
You finally experience unconditional love. Doesn't matter
Best.
what they do, you're going
Right.
to love them.
Yes. Yes. When you were born, you were given a name. Was it Liberto? How do you say it in
Li-
Italian?
Libertori.
Yeah, the Libertori. And there was a question. Oh, he shouldn't go through life like that. He's not going to
Right.
have a good life. They're going to make fun of him. But for you, it turned out to be. You know, we talk about Steve Gadd or Steve Smith or Dave Reckel. It's Liberty. So you had a
Right.
great name that actually was. It helped you in life. It's Lib.
Right. Well, I was named after my uncle, my father's brother, who was killed in World War II.
Right.
Now, when they named me Liberty, all my father's uh, siblings said, "Oh, what are you doing? You're crazy. Kid's going to be fighting for the rest of his life." Because my uncle used to get in fights all the time because the Statue of Liberty is a girl, you
Right.
know? So, but you're absolutely right. It turned out to be such a positive thing. In the 60s, it was great because now everybody was a hippie and Liberty was, wow, a cool name, you know?
Freedom.
And,
Yeah.
and then to have that handle, uh, when you're becoming more famous and the band is getting bigger, it was like, yeah, think about how many drummers that are in bands that I mean, you're in the business that you would know the names of the drummers in bands, but
Right.
most people don't know those
Right.
drummers that are in that play with it's mainly me and Max Weinberg, that you
Right.
know the names of,
Sure.
But
Yeah.
Liberty, yeah, everybody knows the name Liberty. People just say it sometimes, and it's like, oh, you
Right.
mean Liberty Devitto? Yeah,
Great stuff.
It's a really good thing that I'm glad my parents named me that because everybody calls me it.
Yeah. Guys, we're talking to the tremendous Liberty DeVito. Check out the book, Life, Billy, and the Pursuit of Happiness. We get to the point where, you start playing, you're getting better and better, 23, 24 years old, and you enter the world of Billy Joel, which lasted 30 years. The success is noted, the 150 million albums, all the notoriety, the fame and fortune, all the gold and platinum albums, all the success. And were those 30 years working with Billy Joel your musical Mona Lisa?
Let's see, my musical Mona Lisa. I don't think I've painted Mona Lisa yet.
Okay.
I think we did really great things, but I think as a drummer, I'm continuing to grow.
Yeah, sure.
And I think like myself and you and other drummers, we continue to grow as the more we play, we see somebody else play something, you go like, that's really cool. I got to cop that, and you put it in your style, and your style starts to grow, and you get better. You get better with time. You get better creating things. Your interest for music, goes different ways. Like you said before, you're into metal, you're into Sinatra, you're into all this other stuff, and you listen, and subconsciously you don't even know that you're taking from everything you're listening to.
Yeah, that's a great word. We always want to do. We always want to play, whether we're in studio sessions, live or recording. But you mentioned a good word, Lib. I'm not sure, even in life, that we listen enough.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, just great stuff. In this brilliant book, there are happy and sad times, different attitudes with different people, and we sometimes get lost in our own little world.
Yep.
That takes us further away from the ones we love, not on purpose. It's just life. My question to you is, do you personally think maybe there was something that you could have did, not to save them, but to help your brother Vin and eventually Doug with their problems? Is there anything maybe you could have did differently?
Well, I think we all could have done something different for Doug.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the way Billy lets people go was a bad way to do it. I mean, no phone call, no nothing. You just all of a sudden one day aren't playing with Billy Joel anymore.
Right.
The same thing had happened to me, and we all could have supported Doug more. I mean, the worst thing that Doug did was to come to see us play after he was out of the band.
Yeah.
That was the thing he should have never done. He should have just continued on doing things himself. He built a studio in his house, and he got tangled up with some hip hop guys that owed him money, and he was, just drugs and stuff like that. So, I mean, I could have picked up the phone when I was listening to his voicemail, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for that. My brother Vinny, when I was sitting in the bar and this one guy was telling me that Vinny was messing around with the needle, this guy messed around with the needle. So I told him, I said, "You're full of shit, man." I mean, can I say that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I told him, you're full of shit. You're out of your mind. Get out of here. So I didn't believe it. And when it's somebody that close to you, you don't believe that that's happening.
Right,
You
right.
know, especially my dad, a cop, he used to bring home drugs to show us what they look like and then flush them in the toilet. You know, and then to think that my brother was doing this was like, it was inconceivable in my head that anybody would be doing this that I love.
Right, right. I think about your mother, Josephine, in the book, and she went through so much. What a beautiful soul. And she lived, I think, to be 89, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
89
just
years old.
just a beautiful soul. And she lost a child before you, and now she lost another one.
Yeah.
And you say in the book she was just devastated. How was that? Trying to cope with her and 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 deal with another loss.
Well, the thing that was the most difficult about that was, I mean, I was a young teenager when my half brother Frankie died,
Right.
and he was hit by a car. He's in the military, and I don't know. He's walking across the street, and got hit by a car, and when Vinny died, that was tragic because Vinny really, out of the four children that my mother and father had, Vinny was like the life of the party. He was it. So when he passed away, the hard part for my mom was that Vinny was married, and the the wife makes the decisions over the mother of what happens, like when it's time to pull the plug, or should we do take samples from his bone marrow, things like that. So while the wife was making that decision, and it was against what my mother wanted, they clashed so badly that one day I got off an elevator and they were actually fighting on the floor, and I had to break them up. It was like,
Yeah.
I can't believe this is happening. Because the way cancer, they say it not only kills the person who has it also kills the family around.
Yeah,
It affects everybody.
Yeah.
That's the way this was happening. It was affecting everybody around, that knew Vinny.
Yeah,
So that was
absolutely.
tough.
The book led me down a path. I loved in the book how you and I think Joe Bergamini was edited, and he did a great job with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great job by Hudson Music and a good friend of ours, Rob Wallace. The whole team there. I love how sometimes you're reading it, and you go a chapter, and it's backwards. I loved how it was written. It was perfectly done because it actually put a picture in my head of this old house, the old immigrants, your family. And
Yeah.
I even seen Vinny in a hospital bed. And it's just a great imagination. It's a great read. But I wanted to ask you, growing up in that kind of environment, and having, now you have four beautiful daughters. I think your daughter May is 5 now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, she's fine.
great stuff. Mary Ellie, Tori, and Devin.
Yeah.
How did growing up and watching your father maybe sometimes educate and treat you? How did that educate you to treat your daughters, if any, differently?
Well, I knew that my father was very strict when it came to the worst thing I could ever hear, like a lot of the time kids that were growing up the same time as me, was wait till your father comes home.
Oh, God,
Oh my
yeah,
God,
yeah.
I'm running away from home. I'm not going to stand for this because he would hit. He would strike me. And I know back in the day, that's what your fathers did. They hit kids with a belt.
Right.
My mother used to just say, don't hit him. When he was coming after me, just don't hit him with a closed fist. So what?
Yeah.
So I learned that doesn't work. It doesn't work. It only made me more angry and more distant from him. And so my daughters now, I mean, I'll admit, and they'll tell me that they got me to a point once where I remember spanking them on the back with a flip flop. They got me so
Right,
mad.
right, yeah.
But I have definitely learned that talking to someone is a whole lot better than violence.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, my father used to call me stupid and idiot, and it's like that really affects a kid. You know,
Yeah.
and he hears it all the time. So I don't use those words. I don't like those words.
Right. Right.
You know, call me an asshole. Don't call me stupid.
I grew up in a very hostile. My father was he drank a lot, and he used to hit me and my brother. So he actually helped me, and I thank him for this. So by him hitting me, I will never touch my daughter, and I never have. So
Right.
I think he educated me without even knowing it.
Exactly. It's up to you to break the chain.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
his father probably hit him, and
Yeah.
his father's father probably hit him.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you break the chain. It's like that's done. We're done with that shit. You know?
Yeah. I remember reading about your father, and he was in the war, and then 77 precinct,
Yeah,
77,
77
right?
precinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and he did about 20 years there. So, do you blame your father for anything, or you think that was just part of, like we said, his upbringing?
I think it was part of his upbringing. That's all he knew.
Right. Right.
You know, and I don't blame him for really anything because I've in the end I remember talking to this doctor and you know talking about forgiveness. That's another thing about the book is forgiveness is one of the biggest things
Sure.
that you can do. That's why you and me are talking right now, Joe. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
you get past this
Sure.
bullshit that
Sure.
happens in your life,
Yeah.
and that's why I got Billy back again. You know, and I forgive my father before he passed away,
Right.
and
Right.
you know, I told him he was my hero. All this, you know, he put a roof over my head, right? You know, I was in my 20s, still living home, not making any money. You know,
Yeah.
so there's the dark side and there's the upside. But you know, it was the way life was. Life is different these days. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Uh, in the book, it's mentioned over in time, or early on, and even later in life, the drugs and the drinking, like many of us have experienced. But I got to tell you, Lib, watching you and knowing you for a long time, being around you years ago, hanging out with you, and watching you play, I think your drug is the drums.
Oh, it definitely is. Definitely is the drugs. The drugs.
Drums, yeah, the
The
drums,
drums.
yeah. It
Yeah.
shows when you play. It's. I've never seen a drummer who just personifies passion and confidence when they're playing, and everybody says that about you.
Yeah. When you love what you do, first of all, look, I was fortunate enough to, you know, I've had other jobs. Like I worked with a plumber. I worked
Right.
at this place that stuffed envelopes and, you know, did different things. But I grew up and made a living doing what I love to do.
Yeah.
I traveled the world. We made money, like you said, you know, fame, girls, everything. You know, we could do no wrong. And that became a 30-year bubble that I lived in. You couldn't do anything wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Police pull you over, you're speeding. Hey, don't you play with Billy Joel? Yeah, I do. Oh yeah, okay, hey, slow down. You know,
Right.
those
Right.
kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then the bubble popped, you know, at the
Yeah.
end
Yeah.
when me
Yeah.
and Billy parted ways. That's when it was like, okay, I gotta get my shit together. And that's when I met you,
Yeah.
when the
Sure.
bubble popped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. 2004ish. Yeah. But we talk about Billy and 30 years. What's one of the biggest, besides all the money and playing and what you just said? What's one of the biggest life lessons you learned from Billy Joe, the person?
You know when they say be nice to the people on the way up because they're gonna see the same people on the way down?
Hmm.
That's the thing. Now, I think that Billy did what he had to do to people, you know, by firing them, not firing them, just letting them go, because he had a career of 50 years. You can't stand still for 50 years and continue your career.
Hmm.
You know, you have to make changes to continue to go. And by doing that, he kind of isolated himself from people. You could never get close to Billy. He was always had you at an arm's distance,
Right.
you know, because you never knew what was going to happen tomorrow. So I learned, like, it's okay to let people come close,
Yeah.
you know, just don't let them make a fool of you.
Right. Right.
You know, so I learned that, yeah.
Do you think he was that way because I think in the 70s he was screwed royally? Was his brother-in-law or somebody screwed him for a lot of money? Do you think he was that way because he's been through it and was very, conscientious? What's going on now?
Well, he was always kind of like a little distant. I mean, we were the closest we ever were in the earlier years when we were kind of like a gang of guys going around the world and everything like that. When he got screwed by his brother-in-law,
right,
then it really got,
sure,
that's when he took everything back from us. We were getting royalties, we were getting all this kind of stuff, and he took it all back because he was broke after having 11 albums.
Yeah. I love to read in the book how you guys were much more than a band. You were on the top of the world, one of the biggest bands in the world, but you were also, you would fool around, you would kid around with each other. How important is that kind of environment? Even though you're a professional band, you have to let it all out sometimes.
Yeah, you got to let it all out. You got to argue, or you got to just have fun. You're together for 24 hours when you're touring. My wives, I was with Billy more than them. My wives, he was with me more than his wife. We could tell each other things that you couldn't tell your wife. Things that happen on the road, you wouldn't tell. You can't bring it home.
Yeah.
Only they know. That was another thing when I wrote the book. I mean, I could have buried a lot of people, but it's not the code of the road. You just be quiet. I'm not going to do that.
When you look back at the book, and you even mentioned it on the back cover, I think the book, Life, Billy, and the Pursuit of Happiness, I think when you read it, it is a love story of drums, because everything about you met your wives, even your current wife, who we'll talk about in a little while. You met her, Anna. It's all because of drums. It's a love story of drums.
That's right. That's right. And you know why I wrote the book? Because first it started out as a family history for my daughters.
Mm-hmm.
That basically what I started to do. I was able to have my parents live a long life, and I was able to interview them on cassette. And my Aunt Millie, I interviewed her on cassette, and I knew what it was like when they were growing up, and where my grandparents came from, and what ship they came over on, all that kind of stuff. That was great. Then when I parted ways with Billy, I thought, I'm going to write a book, and I was angry when we parted ways,
Mm-hmm.
and I started to write everything down, everything that I knew and everything. And then I thought, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do throw the dish and throw people under the bus.
Right.
I'm just going to write about what it was like. And then after watching like American Idol and stuff like that, young people think you go on American Idol, you win a contest, and you become a big star. No, man, there's a lot of dues that you pay. It's just like any other job. You start from the bottom, and you got to work your way up. And it is tough. And that's why I listed all the things that I had done to get to that point of playing with Billy.
Yeah.
All the things that I learned. Like in the back, there's the family tree with my family, and then there's the band family tree.
Right.
And it lists all the things that happened, the Rogues, the first band, the excitement. And then when I played with Russell, with Topper, I was learning how to put songs together. When I played with Supa, I was learning, how style and things like that,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Playing weddings, I learned more playing weddings than anything else.
in the book, you alluded to that. You said you went to this a hall or something, and there were these old musicians, and you were like, "Oh, what am I gonna do?" But it turned out to be some of the best musicians you've played with.
Oh, let me tell you something, Joe. I walked in. It was the catering hall on Long Island called the Narragansett Inn. It
Okay.
was run by guys that were connected, And the sax player had slick back hair, and he chain smoked, and he drank scotch, and he was older. He was a plumber during the week. The accordion player, I don't know how he held the accordion up, and the trumpet player was another guy really old. They turned around to me. And this is after I played with Mitch Ryder and everything like that, and was playing with Russell and Doug at the time. He turned around and said, "Okay, the bride wants us to start with a merengue." And I was like, "What the hell is merengue?" And I played those weddings for 2.5 years. I stayed at that catering hall and learned about people. I learned about what you do to satisfy people. You get the bride's mother coming up and going, "Your band's too loud. You got to turn it down." All right, okay. We'll do that, It was great. Waitresses were a lot of fun. Woo.
Yeah, sure. So right now we're up to like about 52 years old, and I hate to say it, but Billy is almost over in your life. 24, almost 30 years. So,
Yeah.
and then you go to this event, and you were in a bad state of mind. You even said in the book, if I'm correct, that if maybe you were contemplating suicide or you were in a dark place.
Yeah, it was in a very dark place.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think I always look for that game-changing moment in life. Maybe it could have been your first love for the Beatles, your first gig. Maybe
Right.
it was with Billy. I think our children are different, but I think your game-changing moment, it came to you, when you looked across the room and you seen this redhead in a ponytail, and you were mesmerized. Anna, who was your wife now still, and
Yeah.
I think, talk to me about a very dark period in your life where people come into our life at the perfect time as a game changer, and how the redheaded angel saved you.
Joe, it was, Doug Stegmeyer went through the dark time, and he ended his life
Yeah.
abruptly. I mean, rolled himself in a carpet, put a gun in his mouth, and it was over. I felt Doug. I could feel him breathing down my neck sometimes.
Right.
It was that scary. Like I was able to, like, when any kind of bill came in, Visa, MasterCard, just pay it. Want a car? Let's go buy a car. All that kind of stuff. Now I've got nothing. I got divorced at the same time as Billy let me go, right? So I've got nothing. So I got to do this rock and roll fantasy camp out in LA.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in Sam Ash, setting up to play. And Sam Ash is where I used to go when I was a kid in Hempstead.
Sure.
And I used to admire the drums and go, one day I'm going to have a set of drums like that, And eventually my career took off, and I was able to get drums, from companies all the time. They would just hand them to you, But so it was a dream that I always wanted. And now I'm in Sam Ash, and I'm playing on these drums. Of course, they're giving them to you to play on and stuff like that. And it's like, I'm alone. I want to be with somebody. I want to have a relationship with somebody. And then this redhead walks in, like you said, at the perfect time.
Right.
Like, oh my God, this is it, I remember watching A Bronx Tale, the movie A Bronx Tale.
Yeah.
And the one guy tells the kid,
3.
you get 3 loves in your life, And I said, one was my high school sweetheart, who I thought I would marry, but of course it fell apart. The next one was one of my wives that I thought would be there forever, and that fell apart. And now here comes number 3. This is the one. This is going to be it. And now we've been together for 20 years now,
Yeah,
Wow.
it just goes to show you, like you just said. I just got goosebumps because you said you're on top of the world and maybe not the happiest. Now you're
Right.
broke. Now you're broke with nobody around you really, and this woman comes into your life and you're your happiest. It's just like it's a catch-22
Yeah. Yeah. It was just unbelievable that the timing of this.
timing.
And also while Doug was breathing down my neck, I had my girls, just three of them at the time, but I had my daughters, and my parents were still alive. And you think about, I could never do that to them.
Yeah.
How I don't know how Doug did that. I mean, he didn't have anybody. Wasn't married. He didn't have children, but his mom was still alive. And it was like, you know, what brings a person to that point? You can never imagine, because you can't go there.
Right,
You can't
right.
get there.
Right. We always say, oh, how could he or she, how could they do that to himself? It's so selfish. We'll never know.
Never know. You'll
Never
never
know.
know. You
Yeah.
Just like I'll never know what it's like to walk on the moon. I don't know
Right,
what it's like.
right, right. That'd be pretty cool. Liberty on the moon. We should listen. It ain't too late. They're going up there all the time.
I know.
But it's just funny because there's no number on love. Oh, I remember my parents were 3 years apart. My sister and her husband, they're married 35 years. They're 6 years apart. You and Anna, I think, are 25 years apart.
25 years. Yeah.
Who
Yep.
cares? It's love. It's love.
Yeah. Well, we always said that if you sit in a dark room and I'm talking to her, you would never know that there was an age difference. You know, when
It's
when you
great.
have the same likes and dislikes, it's like, this is fantastic. And we wanted the same thing. We wanted a relationship that would be solid and dedicated. And then eventually, when she turned to me, and I used to always tell her, I used to say, we should have a kid because it's the greatest thing that you will ever experience in
Right,
life,
right, right.
is to have a child.
Mm.
But to tell somebody that doesn't have a child that that's the greatest experience you'll ever experience, it's like walking on the moon. They don't know what that's like until it happens.
Yeah.
And Anna turned to me and said one day, okay, I want to have a child. And it was like, okay, let's do this. And now that we have May, it's like, oh God, there's another reason to stay together,
Yeah. Before May, she's 5. I think you were 66 when she was born, and
Yeah.
you had 3 beautiful daughters already. Anything you learned from them that you want to do different with May?
Oh, Joe, let me tell you something. Growing up, I learned things from my father, the way life was, the racism, the sexism, everything that was back with the World War II guys, right?
Right.
Then I'm growing up. Then you get, I get married, and I have these children now that are adults now,
Right.
and they're teaching me how the world is today. So you have to rewire yourself, because all those things you learned from your dad,
Right.
you have to rewire yourself, because now they're like, Dad, you can't say that. Dad, that's not the way it is, stuff like that. So you rewire yourself. Now then I have a wife that is younger than me that thinks different than I do, so you rewire yourself for that. When I was married to my other wives, it was like you have a fight and you just walk out like, yeah, I don't want to even talk about it.
Right,
One of
yeah.
those. Now it's like, let's talk this out. It's like, oh, this is new to me. We're going to
Yeah,
talk it
yeah.
out. Then now I have a 5-year-old. What's going to happen when she becomes a teenager?
Right.
She-
Right.
If I'm still around, she's going to be telling me what life is like now. Then.
It all came into fruition because it's like a tree. You taught your 3 daughters. Now your 3 daughters taught you what's going on, and now you
Yeah.
have to teach their little, sister. So it's weird how the education goes back and forth.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Joe, one day, if it hasn't happened yet, your daughter's going to look at you and go, Dad, no, it's not like that. And you go like, oh my God.
I know. She's now starting to talk about boys. So you know.
You
Let's
know,
talk.
they say, they say that when you have a son, you worry about one penis. When you have a daughter, you worry about all penises.
Oh God, yeah, I know. But to be honest with you, I want to take a different approach before. Maybe you'll agree. I don't want her to be afraid. Like I know when me and you were 15, 16, all we wanted to do was,
Yeah,
be with a girl.
yeah,
So I'm not going to be mad at that kid who wants to get with her. You understand? I can't be mad at him because that was me and you once.
right,
I know.
exactly.
Just live your life. Hopefully, he treats her with respect and doesn't touch her when she doesn't want to be touched and stuff like that. But I'm not going to be mad at this kid because he's courting my daughter. That was me and you.
Right. I,
Yeah.
I used to tell my daughters the way I'm going to judge your boyfriends is how their relationship is with their mother.
Hmm.
Do they love their mother?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You found this great new sound for several years now. The Lords of 52nd Street.
Yeah.
Just tremendous. Wow, just awesome. That the piano player, his name escapes me right now. He sounds just like Billy. Talk about this, how it came about, and just love again. Playing Billy music.
Well, the Lords of 52nd Street. That's the name that Phil Ramone gave us on the
Yeah,
back of this 52nd Street album cover
yeah,
when he
sure.
listed the musicians. And we were inducted into the Long Island Music Hall of Fame. And they asked us to play a song. We ended up playing like 4 or 5 songs that night because the crowd went wild when we started playing them. Billy at the Garden, he's doing a great thing, but he's dropped the keys. He can't sing as high anymore, and nobody in the band is related to the records anymore. So when me and Richie and Russell play with the other guys that we play with, and everyone in the band is actually has a connection to Billy in one way or another, like being the musical director to the show Moving Out, or has worked with Billy at some point. And so when people hear us play, we got the singer that sings the song in the original key of the record.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Richie and Russell are playing. We sound more like the record than Billy does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So it's pretty funny, I mean, it's a wonderful thing to do. I didn't want to go to the Hall of Fame because I still had the falling out with Billy. We weren't speaking, and I didn't know if I wanted to go back there. But learning the songs, when the Lord said we were going to get together and we were going to start to play, play out, I had to learn the songs, and I was falling in love with them again, listening to them. And all I can remember was what it was like being in the studio. So now I have all the songs back. I have Russell, Richie, and I'm playing the songs again. And the only thing that's missing is the guy that I looked at for 30 years.
Right.
Live. I watched him for cues. He watched me for cues.
Right.
In the studio, I could see him. He used to make it a point. I remember us setting up on stage when we started a tour, and he would say, "No, you have to move something. I can't see Lib." It's important for the artist to see the drummer.
Yeah. I wish we can find that person that told you years ago you'll never amount to anything, and now you're a Hall of Famer. How's that?
Really?
It's
That's
crazy.
something else, right?
I always wanted to know, when a drummer takes the spot that you filled for 30 years, any animosity for the guy and Billy, now the drummer? Do you know him? Are you friends? You always want to know how that came into play.
No, I have nothing against him. He was offered a gig,
Right.
and you take a gig.
Yeah.
Just like I play with other people.
Yeah.
You take the gig. He's a great drummer. He's got great time. But like comparing the guy who plays in Rain, the Beatle tribute band,
Right.
you'll say, "Oh, they sound great," but they don't sound exactly like the Beatles. And the guy plays really good, but he doesn't play like Ringo. No,
Right.
of course he doesn't play like Ringo.
Right.
He's not Ringo.
Right.
Ringo grew up in Liverpool. He was very poor growing up. He's self-taught. His style of playing is he's left-handed. He leads his fills with his left hand. He's the guy that's playing in Rain is not going to sound like
Right.
like Ringo.
Sure.
The guy that's playing with Billy now, what is his name?
Chuck? Is it Chuck?
Chuck Berge.
Yeah, Chuck.
Chuck
Yeah.
Berge. Fine player, played with metal bands and stuff like that. He didn't grow up the same time as me, at the same place as me. Same, he didn't smell the sauce when he woke up in the morning. He didn't have a dad that used to hit him.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he can play the parts, but he's not going to play them like I do.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
So he's a fine drummer.
Right.
Stop, and I say this, stop comparing him to me.
Yeah. And I was just asking if you guys ever met or your friends or any animosity. No.
Everybody always says, "Oh, he's not as good as Liberty. He's a great drummer, but he's not as good as Liberty." No, it's different. It's
right,
different.
Different. Sure, different. Yeah.
I always say, I say this, Joe. I say this. Everybody says which drummer is great. Like you take Buddy Rich and Larry Mullen from U2, right? If you put Larry Mullen in the Buddy Rich band, you're going to say, this stinks, man. This guy can't play jazz, right? And if you put Buddy Rich in U2, you would say, like, let's get out of here. This guy's overplaying. I don't even know what the song is about anymore.
Right.
So in your environment, where you are, makes you great. Larry Mullen is great in U2. Buddy Rich is great in the big band,
Yeah, absolutely. Lib, I got two more questions, and I can't thank you for this time. It's been very intimate, and I thank you, brother.
Yeah.
It's a very deep question, and it's just a culmination of your 70-plus years living. What is or what was the total destiny in life for Liberty Devitto?
My dream, I have a yearbook. I graduated in 1968, and people in my yearbook, I was so into music at the time, that people in my yearbook wrote, keep practicing, and one day you'll play with Steve Winwood. I was way into Traffic, and Steve Winwood was into Traffic. I actually got to play with Steve Winwood. He was on the Bridge album with us. People wrote, keep your head together, and one day you'll play Madison Square Garden. I actually did get to play Madison Square Garden.
Sure.
These were all predictions before anything that people were saying, like, you keep doing what you're doing and the way you're doing it, and one day we're going to see you on the top, which is amazing to me.
Yeah.
And to go back to see those old friends now, and it's like they saw it. The passion, like you said before, the passion was there before the drummer that played with Billy. The passion to be that guy was there already.
Sure. I seen a picture of you. Maybe it was a borrowed set, but you had a double pedal. Is that correct?
Oh, it was a video.
A video.
This guy, Tony, a friend of mine, taped it. I was jamming with a couple of guys from Hired Gun.
Okay.
And I just jumped on it.
Right.
There's the other pedal. Let me try this. and I just did it. But I remember talking to Dom Famularo. Dom, of course, the great motivator and instructor and drummer.
Yeah.
I said, Dom, I just have a hard time with the pedal. And he said, maybe you got to change your seat level, because I sit very high, He said, maybe you change your seat level to try it. And I tried it. And if I get lower, I can do it better, but I don't want to get lower. I like where I sit with the rest of the set.
Yeah. Yeah. Liv, I can't thank you. I wanted to get you on for a while, and I'm so glad we reconnected. My last question that I've asked every drummer their first time, it's an honest answer, so please be honest, no BS. Liberty Devitto, how would you rate this interview honestly?
Through this whole interview, I kept saying to myself, wow, Joe's doing a great job. This is great.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. We're going to get together. I think you're playing July 7th in Red Bank. Yes, that's a Thursday. I hope to come down. Lib, I thank you so much. Please say hello to Anna and give her my regards. She was always so nice to me. I remember all the times. Are you still in a house that I helped you move in? Is that the same house?
No. We're we bought an apartment in Clinton Hill down.
Okay, cool. Well,
Yeah.
I'll be in touch, but I thank you for this time, man, and it's been just great interviewing you finally.
Fantastic, Joe. Thanks so much, man.
All right, guys, the great Liberty Devitto. Thanks, brother. Have a great day.
Okay, see ya.
Thanks, Lib.
Bye.
This week in drum history.
This week in drum history, we celebrate the birth of a solid as a rock drummer. The longtime resident of Massachusetts was born in the Bronx, New York on June 21st, 1950. Happy birthday to the car-collecting author and coffee-loving entrepreneur, Rockstar Crame Dog, a.k.a. Joseph Michael Kramer. By 14, Joey was jamming with a Ventures-type instrumentals band named The Medallions. In his late teens, while studying and drumming at Berklee College of Music, he played with Chubby and the Turnpikes, later known as Tavares, alongside Bernie Worrell, and decided music was his calling. In 1968, while listening to Harry Nilsson's album, Aerial Ballet, he conceived the name Aerosmith. In 1970, he reconnected with his friend, Steven Tyler, who started a band with Joe Perry and Tom Hamilton and were in need of a drummer. Kramer dropped out of school and jumped behind the kit. He put the name Aerosmith to their faces, and the band was born. For 2 years, the group played throughout New England. They got their big break on August 5th, 1972, at Max's Kansas City Club in New York City. That night, the famed record executive Clive Davis was in attendance and was so impressed with Aerosmith that he signed them to Columbia Records on the spot. The rock and roll coaster ride begins for real and continued for over 6 decades. Life may have hit Joey Kramer hard, but he has managed to turn all his setbacks into comebacks. In his 2009 memoir, Hit Hard, a story of hitting rock bottom at the top, his tell-all book, Motley Crue's Nikki Sixx says, Joey had the balls to see what's underneath the hood and fix it. Being a rock star was easy compared to that. Throughout all his trials and tribulations, Joey Kramer continues to hit hard and keep great time, doing exactly what is needed for the song. His technique may not place him among the elite drummers of the world, but he is a perfect fit for Aerosmith. His musical ideas, timing, and fantastic feel were as outstanding as Steven Tyler's voice and Joe Perry's guitar. Aerosmith's chemistry, passion, and dedication to each other and the band was something to cherish and behold. They were a magical mix of musicians whose music soared way beyond their individual talents. The Bad Boys from Boston songs are genuine rock and roll masterpieces, collaborations of cosmic proportions, placing them in the rock and roll stratosphere. Aerosmith are the rightful owners of the title, best-selling American hard rock band of all time, selling more than 150 million records worldwide. They have 25 gold albums, 18 platinum albums, 12 multi-platinum albums. They scored 21 top 40 hits on the Billboard Hot 100, 9 number 1 mainstream rock hits, 4 Grammy Awards, 6 American Music Awards, and 10 MTV Video Music Awards. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001 and are included among both Rolling Stones and VH1's lists of the 100 greatest artists of all time. If rock and roll were a college course, it could be titled Aerosmith 101.